Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's Super Saiyan Paul. I'm joined here today with Unreal and Gaming. Today we're going to be talking about what everybody's been waiting for. What's the situation with Dragon Ball GT and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero? It's been very, very mysterious, and me and Alex are going to go and tackle this one. Alex, what do you think so far?
You know what? This has been like the biggest mystery so far because everything looks like it's following, and I know some people are going to be like, there's no canon. There is canon. You know, if there's no manga a part of like the actual product, like it's not connected, right? So from what we know, it looks like they could be using OG Dragon Ball characters in the game, which I mean, we've seen in Tenkaichi before. So OG DB, we got Z, we got Super, but there's no GT, right? Which is kind of weird. I'm thinking that they're more than likely going to be saving GT for DLC, which I can see from a market strategy on how that could end up working in their favor. But at the same time, I just think it's not really a good idea, especially to those that want to buy the game for a reason. And you do have a bunch of people that their only reason is to play as GT characters: Omega, Nuova, Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, Pan, Kid Goku. So, I mean, unless they want to use that as a way to kind of bring in DLC, then that could technically work because you got the 7 Shadow Dragons, you got a whole slew of stuff, you got Baby, Super 17, but I just think that it's kind of odd because back in the day when we used to run Tenkaichi 3, we used to have those characters by default. Obviously Super didn't exist at that time, but it's just, I think that the market strategy going forward is to have those characters as DLC, or maybe they're unlockables, which is going to be a little weird since they haven't even mentioned anything about that. But as of the recording of this video, we don't know if they're going to be definitively including those characters on day one. But what I'm only going to assume is that those characters, among probably a many more, just like Xenoverse 2, are all going to be DLC, because Xenoverse 2 has it's lasted almost, give or take, like 8 years, right? 8 years just straight up DLC, which is great because they've been supporting the game for 8 years, but everything has been DLC, you know, like they obviously, it's a company, they want to make some money. So I don't disagree with that strategy on their end, but just at least give us something to look forward to in terms of that, because we don't know. I mean, we can only assume that, yeah, sure, Orange, Piccolo, Beast, Gohan, Cell, Max, they're going to be in the game because they're a part of Super. But even those characters they haven't shown, which is a little weird. So are they going to show it potentially, or are they going to save them as DLC as a part of like some superhero package? Maybe. So we might end up seeing those alongside maybe GT characters, because if you think about it, there's a whole ton of GT characters that they can just throw in here, right? So I think that could work. But the biggest thing for me is looking at it from a perspective where if they're going to be including new maps, new characters, then that's fine. But I just see them going into the route where it's kind of similar to Xenoverse 2 with how they did that. And I think that's the direction that they're going to be going in, essentially.
And you know what's crazy? The fact that you brought this up is that when you look at how modern gaming has been treating us with terms of DLC, like you said, Xenoverse 2, 8 years of DLC, and even Xenoverse 2 in its inception, it felt like Xenoverse 1.5. To be honest, Xenoverse 2 is technically, it felt like a DLC from Xenoverse 1. They really changed little to none besides the city and a few of the HUD. But with that being nearly a 10-year span, what they're doing here with Sparking Zero is they've been playing this very smart, because the most recent trailer at the time of this recording was with Goku Black and his Rose form really showing everything off in the Dragon Ball Super realm. But like you said, there's nothing with the Dragon Ball GT spot on trailers yet, because of the fact that the pre-order numbers, they're using that to engage, hey, what can we chop out of this game and put as DLC, because they've already put some of the new superhero movie into the DLC package with, I believe, Gamma 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken. And that's where they're going to gauge it whether, hey, we're going to add this part of the story into the DLC, or if we're going to go back and add this whole thing as a chunk depending on the pre-order numbers. So what do you think? Do you think it's how they're playing this? They're doing it very slowly.
No, 100%. I think they're going to be kind of saving this for DLC, but if that's going to be the case, then I'm only going to assume, since they're doing like the whole customizable story thing, I'm only going to assume that they're going to add tidbits for the options for you to customize your story even further once they add GT characters. So like, what if Baby, I don't know, infected Beerus or something? I mean, the possibilities are endless, and I think limitless too, because again, we've talked about this on another video. How are they going to top this game? I mean, it's really good, but it's interesting because how much can we expect from this game? And it's kind of weird because we know that Bandai doesn't really adapt manga characters without there having to be an anime portrayal of them, but at the same time, we don't get Moro, but we're getting Vegeta's Gamma Burst Flash, which is kind of weird because the Gamma Burst Flash only ever happened in the manga, never once in the anime, so that's kind of funky. But I can only expect that if the anime comes back, we're going to see the adaptations of those characters, and then from there, you know, we're going to get to see Moro in the game and etc. But until then, I think the strategy should be, if they don't already add them in base game already, is to roll out DLC. But I don't think that they should make you wait like months and months and months just to get your hands on Goku and Gogeta and stuff like that, because if you go back to Tenkaichi 3, wasn't Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta like the most busted unit in the entire game, right? So that's going to be so crazy to see how that's going to be like, because are they going to adapt the same thing, or are they going to do something different? And they've adapted the fighters' monologues as well, so every character has like a unique interaction with each other, so that's pretty cool. But I think with GT, yeah, sure, they're going to be saving that. I think Sean Schemmel alluded that he had to like switch up a bunch of voices for all the forms, which includes Super Saiyan 4. But the only problem is I hope that we don't have to wait an entire year. Can you imagine that? 2025 of October is when you have to wait to play GT. Like that's a little silly. But all in all, I think that they should have been in the game already. But from a marketing perspective, if you want to make some bread, I guess it kind of works, doesn't it? So.
And it kind of shows off the times of how gaming has changed, because back then there wasn't DLC PS2 days. It had to drop there on release with everything, SS4 Gogeta being busted and all. And they even said with this one that they're going to kind of release it faithful to that. So if he's busted, he stays busted, which is going to kind of mess with the DLC sales if it's like old school Dragon Ball characters, because how is that going to scale with that one? But like Alex said, it would be weird if the GT part came out in 2025, but the way gaming culture has been recently, it's like everything's being done in seasons. This way you keep gamer interest for longer, you keep them in the ecosystem, you're selling the base game for longer, and then keeping interest up with new trailers on whatever social media based on the season. So GT could actually very well come out in 2025 if they were doing it like the way the Kakarot model is done, where it's, hey, here's another chapter, and then another like 6 months later, here's the next one. They could definitely do that and prolong it, even with the main story of the sagas being like, let's say the Moro arc, we're gonna sell you that, or the Granola arc, and anything that happens that we haven't seen, it could all be sold on this one base game for like maybe years to come, because they've done it in the past multiple times, whether it be Xenoverse or Fighters. It's how they've been doing it, and even Kakarot. So I wouldn't put it past them to not even try with another sequel. It would just be a straight DLC model. But I think that's what they're leaning towards. I think Alex agrees with that too, that they're just leaning mainly towards just DLC seasons, if anything.
My final thoughts on this is, as long as it's good, and as long as they give us like a variety of things, not just characters but maps and maybe options for story, that'll be great too. But if it's just characters, then it's like, okay, I mean, they've done that before, but I can only expect like massive packs for those, because if you really stop and think about it, like GT got a lot of characters, especially if you want to count like Baby Goten, Baby Gohan, you got Baby Vegeta, different forms of Baby Vegeta, you got Super 17, you got Majub, you got Full Power Majub, you got the Shadow Dragon, Sin, Omega, there's a bunch. And if they want to do what ifs, I guess if they do, then they could always include that. They can always include what if Pan went Super Saiyan, or what if there was a Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. It's crazy, and you people may say like, okay, well that's too far-fetched, but is it really? Because look at Sparking Zero so far, like it looks absolutely fire. So hopefully we'll get GT sooner rather than later. Those are my final thoughts.
Yeah, and even what he said there, it's like if we might even get what ifs with Pan and all of that, and even like maybe the story mode in the game sold as DLC, hey, they're gonna have to beat the modders to some of these what ifs, because that's what's been keeping the ecosystem alive. If they're selling you DLC, like what would be like a what if character that you see in a mod, that's just bread sitting on the table for them. So who knows where that game might go with the DLC and the cosmetics and all of that, selling you the story mode, maybe the maps, all of that. The possibilities are endless. But like I said, if they're not gonna make the characters, especially with this launching on PC, the modders are gonna do it. So who's gonna sell it? Who's gonna be the one to do it? Anyway, guys, let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. Make sure you guys smash that like button, subscribe to both me and Alex's Unreal and Gaming's channel. We'll be seeing you guys next time. All right, take care.